lately, I've been thinking about what it means for an economic system or a society to be stable or to be unstable, or certain or uncertain or determinate or indeterminate or whatever kind of language you want to use. Um, and I think generally speaking, when we say like an unstable system or an indeterminate system, um, there's kind of like a negative association there. Like we assume that, so like an unstable economic system would be one in which people don't feel any sense of security, and they don't feel that they can plan for the future, and they feel unhappy on a daily basis. And like generally speaking, I think we associate stability and certainty with happiness. In fact, like it's kind of true, right? There's all kinds of studies that show, people feel better, people live more fulfilling lives when they have a sense of like their basic needs are going to be met, and they have ties to a community, or like this can happen in all kinds of ways. But a basic assuredness that like you're going to be okay, right? And like as a human being, there are other human beings who care about you, and certain things are going to be assured, right? That allows you to do all kinds of things. That allows you to plan for the future, to feel secure in who you are, to take risks as well, right? Um, and so we take this idea that okay, so like stability and certainty are good. That these are things people need, these things people like. Um, but I think this point, which is truth, is used to justify some very untrue and very dangerous things. So when we think about um, stable or unstable economic systems, we would usually think, okay, a stable economic system is like, okay, GDP, like in capitalist terms, like, okay, the GDP is going up every year or whatever. And an unstable economic system is, oh no, there's like crashes, people losing their jobs, industries are relocating, and like people are unemployed and can't find work. So like that's like unstable, stable. But I kind of want to flip that and think about what are people's lives like on a day-to-day basis. Um, and something I find in my research, and I keep coming back to, and I'm still trying to think through, is I actually think there's a bit of a paradox where systems that are economic systems that are unstable or indeterminate on a day-to-day basis trend towards long-term stability more than systems that are stable on a day-to-day basis. So I want to use two examples. A guy who works in a factory and makes door hinges. It's a bit 19th century, but like you can transpose this to a guy who like sends emails or whatever. Um, and another guy who lives in Tanzania in East Africa, and is from the Hadza people. And this could be today or like 1,000 years ago, because the Hadza are one of the oldest cultures on Earth. I think they've been around for like, I forget the exact number, but like thousands and thousands of years, and very stable in terms of language, culture, all these things. So like clearly they're doing, something that is stable over a long period of time. Um, so the person who works in a factory, or white collar work, whatever, um, like on a day to day basis, that's really stable, right? Like you go in, and you know how much money you're gonna make. You either make a salary or you're paid by the hour, and you have a certain number of hours, and it doesn't fluctuate too much, right? Like you have a paycheck, you have a boss, like you're going the same place, like it's stable, right? Um, but then if you take the Hadza guy, so maybe he goes out to try and hunt an animal. Maybe he goes out to, forage for berries, or, herbs, or something. He won't actually find that every time. Wild game move around, they're unpredictable, depending on the time of year, depending on all sorts of ecological factors and just kind of luck, right? You don't always know when you're hunting or foraging that you're actually going to find the thing you're looking for, but it doesn't actually matter. Um, you know, you can, like, it doesn't matter if on a certain day you don't find a buffalo, or you don't find the herbs you need to make some tea, because by the nature of a hunting foraging system that's endured and has been stable, you're going to find it tomorrow or the day after. Like the specifics actually don't really matter all that much. Um, And I want to contrast that with capitalism. And capitalism has been around, systems of wage labor. Also, I really want to focus in on the day to day here. Capitalism and wage labor has been around for like 200, maybe 300 years. And I feel pretty confident saying it's not a system that trends towards stability. I mean, it's been stable in as much as um, capitalist and commodity exchange has endured across that time. But across that time, like, I mean, go back to like what, the 17th century, like the Low Countries, you have like these joint stock companies trading in, slaves and enslaved territories across the world, and, tea and cotton and ginger and all this stuff. And like today, you have like Elon Musk and, tech speculation. The elites have totally shifted. The kind of jobs people are doing are totally shifted. And you can say, okay, that's technology, that's all these things. But if you look at capitalist societies, it's sort of, you ask like capitalist mainstream economists, it's like, yeah, oh, there's boom and bust, crashes happen, these tremendous like tectonic shifts and movements of capital and labor, are just like a part of the system. This is sometimes called like disaster capitalism. And yeah, like these tremendous disasters, these upheavals seem to like are accepted as a part of capitalism. It's not a stable system for the people living in it. Um, and I am willing to venture that, the way climate change is going, I actually think capitalism will probably not last beyond 200, 300 years. I don't know, whatever. But like, it's whatever you think, there's probably a pretty strong argument that in 1,000 years we won't have anything like the economic system or even the homogeneity of economic systems that we have today, right? Um, and this is kind of like an interesting paradox, right? That indeterminacy day to day seems to line up with stability long term, and stability day to day seems to line up with instability long term. And I'm very far from like the point I'm thinking about from being able to explain this. But I think it raises some really interesting questions about like, I don't know, like, to be pretentious, like what does it mean to like live in a society? And we talk about the economy, and I've used that term very generically here, but like an economy is a system of relations where people exchange goods and services, but also exchange and build relations between each other and take care of each other or don't take care of each other, right? Like slavery is an economic relationship. It's also a social and cultural relationship, right? Um, we have relations of care or of domination or of servitude or vassalage or some weird blending of the two, and, like you can think of sort of traditional authoritarian families, right? And I think we have this idea that like we need stability to be able to master plan things long term. Oh God, I've got to be able to like, make my grand design and it'll echo down the generations. But I think there's some big evidence that our intentionality has limits, and that systems that on a day-to-day basis are kind of out of human hands or out of predictability seem to actually be better for us long term. And I won't make this too long, but something I especially find deeply, like possibly the most interesting part of this idea that I'm trying to figure out is the fact that indeterminate systems are more fun. Um, because like when we talk about certainty, um, we kind of almost universally like use certainty and assuredness as like shorthand for something not being fun. Like when we say like the daily grind, the 9 to 5, like the routine, the mundane, the quotidian, every day, right? Like it sucks. It like predictability is boring. Things are fun because they're new, they're novel, they're exciting, they're a bit uncertain. And I just want to close off by asking the question, who has a more interesting day-to-day life? A guy who goes to Microsoft and sends emails every day, or goes to the factory and, makes doors every day, or someone who, goes out with a friend and looks for blackberries and, or, a buffalo. And maybe there's no blackberries or buffalo today, but there will be tomorrow, there will be next week. And if we didn't find any today, I had a nice conversation with my friend.